Right, hello, Chocky Chat. Just my glasses are clean. It's the 14th of June. It's episode 139 of Chocky Chat, or it's number 139 Chocky Chat. 14th of June, midway through the year. Although what I should say is anybody that's live any of Chocky Chat crew that are in the UK, it feels like October. It's quite good for making chocolate at the minute, isn't it? I know everybody's saying, "Where's summer? Where's summer?" I quite like this weather. I can get a lot done. I can get a huge amount done, right? So I hope everybody's good and everybody's well. I'm going to send some hellos out. Sure. Who have we got? Billy there. Gem Nuggets has joined. Ronnie Al, I think they're in Denmark. Who else? Giovanna. Kovacha. Gosh, lots and lots and lots have joined all in one go. Sorry. So Lynn Rata. Gosh. Chocolatier in Weymouth. Nadia's joined us there. I think Nadia's in Saudi. Ned and Two Sweets. Ned, did you see the post that I did earlier of the shiny bonbons? They were, what was it? What were the colours? I think it was It's Black and Deep Purple Shimmer, but like shiny, Max Shine, right? It is Charity. How are you, Charity? Who else is there? We've got Temper. I've got to try and remember everybody's names now. Temper. Is, I'm gonna have to. I've lost the name. It was on the tip of my tongue. Chocolate by Neander. Hello, Chocolate Art UK. It's Kenneth and spoken to you in a long time, Kenneth. Hope all is well. Surfer Leg there down in New Zealand. How are you? Got people in the Ukraine. Hello. J not H, temperature. J not H. Who else have we got? Forest Road Chocolates. Hello, some lovely pastry email. Some really Rafa Bakes there, I think in Ontario, aren't you? It's Kathy, yeah, Kathy Parrott, temper. Why on Chocky? One eye on Chocky Chat, why on football game? There's football. I don't follow football, so lost me. Sorry. I couldn't even name you anybody in the team. Not my thing. Rugby, yeah, not football. Happy Friday, Chocky Chat friends. How is James, lovely tutorials the last few days. Thank you. Absolutely welcome. I've had fun this week. Well, there's a lot of classes this week. A lot of cocoa butters this week. Just trying to keep up with the orders, but in between doing everything, I had a little bit of fun and I was able to, like, occasionally, I always said I'd never make shells, but actually I just wanted to kind of test some colours. There's some stuff that we've done this week. This here, there's a post coming out tomorrow. And I'm going to show you how to do this, okay? And what looks like normal splatter. The camera is not so kind when you see this one, but there's two layers of dots with a layer in between it, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's to do with spraying clear cocoa butter, which is not something I do often. There is a reason to do it, and I'll explain all that tomorrow in the reel. But what else have we done? Also, I shared the inside, what that looked like on the inside of one of those. So I'm going to do another version of that shortly, which is kind of, we called it Hidden Marble. This one had green on one side and then went up to the breakfast out on that side. So been having fun. Sharing some info. I think the one that I did today was to do with the cookie layer. We get sent chocolates. People like, you can have a look at them, tell me where we could do better. It's always a kind of awkward subject for me because professionally I need to say one thing, but then if I know them and I know them from Chocky Chat, I kind of want to be gentle and do it as an appraisal sandwich. Like, I liked this bit you could do better, really like this bit. Sometimes I kind of want to be really, really brutal. One of the things that I often see though is this cookie layer is so thick and so dense that when you eat, the point of the post that I did today was that it tends to be viewed as texture, right? So this kind of, it's not even a crispy layer, it's a dense layer. But it always lacks flavour for me. And I've tried many, like I said, people send us chocolates. I think the key, get flavour in your chocolates. Make your chocolates as tasty as you can. And I think with that cookie layer, if you make it too thick and it's not got enough flavour in it, it's just chocolate and crumbs, you're chewing on that well after everything else has gone. So your last flavour that you've got is something that's not really, really high in taste. And I think that post today was just about saying, you need to get spices in it, you need to get zest in it, you need to get salt in it, you need to get some other posts that are coming out over the next few days. I've got reels lined up until I think next Friday, and each day it's just talking about another subject, another area, just to provoke some thought over what you're doing. But yeah, you're welcome, Nadia. I like sharing stuff. I think, sharing some of the ideas, sharing some of the things that we do, the ways to do things. Mostly kind of how to use the butters and how to get the best from them, whether they're type A, type B, type C. We've got, chocolates in Colombia. Hello, hello. M. Nicole Chocolatier. Hello. I haven't spoken to you for a long, long time. Coco Lily. How is I'm all for rugby. I stayed to lose football. It's just happy days. Flying Banana down there you're in Queensland, I think, aren't you? Kelly Wessel Chocolates. Hello, Kelly. What else was I going to say? Nick at the Chocolate Pig. Hello from Sydney, Australia. Finally awake early enough to see Chocky Chat live. This is the chance. Ask your questions. I think when you join, I've said this before, when you join this live, as people ask questions, what happens in the comments is people start sharing information. So the whole idea of Chocky Chat was to share good information, give me an opportunity to answer questions if I know the answer to them. And then also for other people, and people share resources. People share resources within this on packaging and where they buy chocolates and strugglings that they've had, or bits of equipment that they found, or what they've used and what they haven't used. And when I save this and post it to Instagram, I lose all this lovely commentary, which is such a shame. I wish Instagram would do something about that, because there's some really good information that gets shared amongst all of you guys, right? So if I used untempered chocolate in a crispy layer, would it be easier to chew? It will. So yes, you could. Yeah, technically untempered chocolate. But what happens over a period of time is we've got these 6 crystals, right? We've got 6 crystals. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're fats and sugars that are generally found in chocolate, right? The 5th crystal is really to do with cocoa butter, and the 6th crystal comes from the 5th crystal after kind of 72 hours all the way out to like 60 days. You could technically use untempered chocolate, not a problem with that. It's in case, so nothing's going to go, but it will eventually get firmer and firmer and harder and harder and harder as time goes by. I think the trick is not to play with that layer too much in terms of its texture. If it's not too thick, there's not, we talk about, as chefs, I think about my days in the kitchens, right? We always talked about eatability. And eatability isn't actually a word, and it's a phrase that we coined because the eatability was, when I think about my time, royal palaces, feeding royalty and VIPs and all the rest of it, like the first thing of eatability was, is it likely they're going to bite it and it's going to drip? Because the last thing we wanted was the media to get a picture of the Queen or somebody else and it's just stuff dripping down their shirt. So that was the first rule of eatability. And then the other rules that came in were about flavour release. So what's the first flavour you want, and what's the last flavour you want, and how long do you want that flavour to last for? And this is the clever bit with food, and this is something maybe you should all be considering, because you are not chocolate decorators, you are not artists, we are making food, we're not saving lives, we are trying to paint something that's visually appealing to get them to buy. If it tastes absolutely amazing, they will come back and get more, because the memory will be, well, I remember it being pretty, but I don't exactly what, but they will remember the flavour, because when the flavour is balanced and you get longevity of flavour, this is the eatability bit. The longevity of flavour is what's the last, so if you've got, for example, here's a good example is a coffee bonbon, right? If the first hit of coffee, which could be a liquid, because that's going to melt on the tongue first, that's the first bit we want. We don't want the outer shell, because that's the carrier. So that's the shell is just the vehicle that carries the flavour of the filling, right? So if we were doing like the perfect coffee bonbon, we'd be looking for the first hit of coffee, which could be a liquid, right? So whether it's a gel or whether it's a sugar syrup or one of those kind of varieties, right? But we want that, as soon as they bite, we want that on the tongue so they get an instant hit of coffee, right? So cemented that I know what the flavour of this bonbon is. Then we want it to tone down a little bit, and then we want something in there that's going to be a slower release, but is going to melt faster than the shell, okay, because that will give a length of flavour. And then we kind of want a texture in there that gives them something to bite or chew on, if that makes sense. And it's about an ounce, and also it's only 11 gram bonbon, isn't it, right? So we haven't got a lot of time, we haven't got a lot of space, we haven't got a lot of weight. And that flavour release is really important. As I said, we get sent lots of chocolates, and I keep seeing this. There's two things that I keep seeing in repetition, and one is the like the fruit gels. There isn't enough there, because it's like this babyest, tiniest little dot, which disappears, melts on the tongue. It disappears very, very quickly because it's water based. This is where sugar-based syrups are always nicer, because they melt more slow, but the tongue perceives the flavour on it much, much quicker. Whereas it's water-based, it kind of dissipates quite quickly. And the next one was like, so it's the cookie layer and it's the fruit gel layer. And I think the fruit gel layer, like, in my honest opinion, when I think about competition work, if half the mould is filled with the gel, right? If half of it's filled with a fruit gel, and then you've got a ganache, you're probably in the right area of balance, so that we've got a bit of both. When it's a tiny little dot of something, you're kind of like, I'm not sure that's supposed to be in there. Is that what I thought it was? Or kind of get customers guessing. I think there's a real trick to the craft, and that is that you're not chocolate decorators, you are chefs that are trying to produce a really, really tasty, immaculately clean tasting product that creates a memory, so that they come back and buy more. And that is truly what you're trying to achieve. So what I posted today was about, just think about that layer and how thick it needs to be, and also think about the flavour of it. Because if you put crumbs into white chocolate, yeah, we can get a cookie layer. Absolutely brilliant. Does it need a little bit of salt? Because salt will tone down bitterness. Does it need to be sweet, or does it need a flavonoid to heighten it? So zests are always good, spices are always good, because they have length of flavour, right? This is the stuff that you need to start considering. And I'm trying not to make this sound too sciencey and too chefy, but all of us that cook at home have that one dish that we make. Now, people say to me, what's your favourite meal? It's like, it's the stuff that people cook at home. It's the meal that people wheel out for a favourite occasion. It's that one rehearsed dish they do over and over and over. My Mrs. So Sassy is fantastic at it. She's got this whole bank of dishes that she does, and they're just exactly the same every single time. And they're memorable and they're favourites. And that's the nice thing. And I think this is what you need to achieve with chocolate, is that you've got not rehearsed recipes, but rehearsed flavours. So, untempered chocolate, tempered chocolate, doesn't really matter, because eventually it will all solidify, and over a period of time, over 2, 3, 4 weeks, if they're going to last that long, that layer would become very, very solid, right? So, happy days. Grange chocolates. Grange chocolates, you did send me a message. I've been a little bit busy this week, so I will answer that. I'll get that book out, I'll look at that recipe, and I'll come back to you on that one. So I did see that. Miss Tiff's Caramel, hello. Melbourne, Queensland. Really? Oh, you're in Melbourne. All right, happy days. Sunshine in Western Pennsylvania yesterday. I don't believe that, Ron. If there isn't a photo, it didn't happen, Ron. Because Ron lives in the cloudiest part of the world. It's the 14th of June, October today in England. Hello from Indiana, hello. Chocy's joined us, she's up there in Liverpool, or the Liverpool area. Chocolates by Loney. Evening all. How's everybody doing? Susie Floozy's joined us, hi Susie. Yeah, I hope you all saw the post this week. I'm trying to share some things that would be of, use to you. As you move forward. I said, I don't think it was last week, it was a week before, what should you be doing at this time of year? This time of year, although the weather's quite on our side for making chocolate at the minute, this time last year it wasn't. It was a little bit warm this time last year. And even with air conditioning, I daren't, because I didn't want to leave the AC on all night just because I've got chocolates made. So we're treading on thin ice, literally. Like, should I make chocolate? Shouldn't I? It's certainly good enough weather at the minute. I was outside earlier today and it was 16 degrees. Like, this is a perfect day. We had 38% humidity and 17 degrees. It's like, that sounds like a chocky day to me. Who's got questions? Anybody got questions? We've only one question. Had exactly what you say about cookie layer, espresso ganache, Biscoff cookie layer. Biscoff flavour was getting lost and added a decent quantity of speculoos spice to the cookie before it balanced it out. You've got to balance it out. You've got to, like, before you put it in a bonbon, it's just worth getting those pieces in those volumes and tasting it and then asking yourself, is that enough? Taste. We've got 5 basic tastes. Take out umami because that's on the side of the cheeks, and that's something we get later in life. But we still, you know, salt, sweet, salt, sugar, sour, and bitter. It's going to be one of those, and you don't want too much of one and not enough of another. Although there are reasons to, and that should be in the description of the product. But get all those elements together and have a taste of them, and then ask yourself, like, is there enough of one or the other? You know, if something's very, very sweet and you've got something like lime that's very, very sour, you could probably get a very good match if you've got a barrier in between it. But it's definitely a craft. I think taste is something that's learned of repetition. We go through this with the girls. Whenever we cook something, we will just shout taster. And it doesn't matter what they're doing, they will come running with spoons. So even if we're making a sauce, it's like, come taste it, because I think that's how it's learned. Taste and flavour is learned over a period of time, right? So, pretty fancy chocolates there as well, down. God, they wake up early, don't they, in New Zealand? So, do good chocolates. Hello. Who's got questions? I guess the football's on. Is everybody watching the football? I don't know. I don't know who's playing. No idea. 2 teams, obviously, right? Chocolates by Nana's joined us. Chocolates by Nana just got her cottage licence. So happy days, congratulations, well done. It's been a lot of work, I think, that for you. So on the journey, start making, start creating, start selling, start finding your customers. That's the trick. You have to go and find your customers. I was talking about earlier, you know, this time of year, what should you be doing? And it's kind of like putting plans together of, what do I see myself doing? How do I get there? What are the steps? I tell you, with a career in food, writing stuff down is half the problem solved. Right? If you just write down what it is that you think you should be doing, it will just provoke some more thought process into what are the steps that go into each one of those problems, right? So, Chocky's by Sarah, hello. Scottish Chocolates, I'm trying not to watch the football, 3 goals down. Who's playing? I've no idea at all. I'm only saying that to look interesting. I'm not interested at all. Truly not. Morning, I've just been listening back to all the previous lives. Thank you for saving them. So much info. You're absolutely welcome. That's what they're there for. I think that, you know, I never imagined we'd be at, like, you know, episode 139. I do these every week. I know somebody said to me, like, well, there's another one that does at 8 o'clock. There's room for all of us, and you join the one that you want to. I save these. I like being on Instagram. I just find Instagram a lot easier for me to use. I would use Facebook. You've got to choose one, haven't you? You just can't be in all of them, right? It's so much work. With YouTube, which is very good for me. YouTube's very good for advertising. I get a lot of students through YouTube. Get a lot of students, and I got a lot of people find me via YouTube, oddly enough, and then discover the Instagram page, and then discover the website, and then the lessons and the other bits and pieces that we do. So I can't do all of them. Like, I rarely do Twitter or X. I'm not a big fan of TikTok. I just find it quite kind of infantile. And it's hard to engage with customers, like with the messages and all the rest of it. It's hard to answer stuff back and forth. I just can't find anything. I just find Instagram a lot easier, right? So Germany and Scotland are paying, apparently. All right. Mangoes in chocolate. What works best? I usually blend with passion fruit. Any other ideas? Chocolates by Loney. Really good question. Really good question. Okay. two different products there. We've got mango juice, we've got passion fruit juice. Both fruits, one is very, very high in sugar and low in water, and the other one is very high in water and low in sugar. I'll give you a guess. Mangoes are really, really high in sugar, really high in fibrous content, so whether that's cellulose or fibre that's in there. Very low in water, and can be a little bit starchy as well. And then we got passion fruit. Mango is not highly acidic. Depends on which one you use, because I showed you all of these the other week. I got two left. I won't open the box. These ones, they really don't look like much at all. But when you cut those open, I'll show you one because I'm probably going to eat this in a bit. These will just peel like banana, right? With mango, the colour, the smell that comes off that, I can't even describe the smell that comes off that. It's like mango on steroids. Mango's not got high acidity, so we would always, if you try and do mango on its own, you'd need to put some acid into it to get the flavour to last, right? So it's always better if it's mixed with, mango's mixed with another acidic fruit. In my travels around the world, and I've worked in Thailand, I've worked in Malaysia, worked in different parts of the world, wherever you are served, and they do this in East Africa, Tanzania, and to some extent Kenya as well. Wherever you get served mango, you get served lime, and they will squeeze the lime over the mango, and it makes the mango taste more of mango. Mango always kind of gets put with passion fruit because we think they're both tropical, though they come from different areas mostly. If you make, what you're trying to do with a flavour of mango or passion fruit is just layer up that flavour. I would use passion fruit to add water content to the mango, so about 50-50 is normally about right. If I was going to do mango on its own, I would separate those layers by doing a mango ganache but with lime, and then I'll try and do a pâte de fruit or a fruit gel just with the mango on its own, and maybe not put an acid in it so it's very, very sweet. All of it is dependent on the variety of the fruits. There are a few different varieties of passion fruit. I've had the very, very tiny ones that are super, super intense, and it is like swallowing vinegar. It's really, really, can't eat them on their own. They're just way, way, way too much. And then we get the great big football ones here that just don't really have any liquid in them, but they're quite floral. Mango and lime works really, really well to answer that question. And if you're going to mix it with passion fruit, do it about 50-50 so that we've got a bit more water content in there and a bit of acidity, but then also on the other half we've got some flavour notes from the mango, and then also some of the sugar and the starch or fibre. Passion fruit on its own is way too much, and mango on its own isn't quite enough, so you would need an acid to kind of bring those two together. Not a huge fan of dark chocolate with mango or passion fruit. I was at a competition years ago, somebody gave me a passion fruit and dark chocolate bonbon, and it's like, I don't get it. I just think you've ruined what you've got there. So I hope that answers that one. What else have we got? There you go. Mango and lemongrass again. Lemongrass acidity, right? So you've got to get acidity in there. Lime is less strength than lemon, okay? So if we put normal lemon, like the yellow lemon, into mango, we probably kill off the flavour a bit. Whereas lemongrass is technically a herb, right? So if you've not used lemongrass before, I love them. Kaffir lime leaf works really, really well as long as you don't do too much of it. And I wouldn't chop that lime leaf into the mango. I would just bring the liquids to a warm and macerate it. Just let it marinate in there to get some of the kaffir lime leaf flavour, because that's quite an interesting, and it works with it. But yeah, passion fruit, lemongrass and chilli. Not a big fan of chilli and chocolate. I'm not a chilli lover at all, but I can see that will be working. We have got Stolchimara. Hello, chocolate family. Hello and welcome. Who else have we got there? Ethan Bradley Chocolates. He's in Napa Valley. Melting Whisk. And just send some waves out here. So, what have we got? Did I miss a question? Chocolate found you on Facebook. I'm looking to make some chocolates with different textures to please my family who don't like soft fillings. So they like quite solid chocolate. I would just do solid chocolate, right? You don't always need to. There's a post. I'm doing an inside out bonbon next week. I've got classes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I've got hands-on classes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday I'm going to do an inside out bonbon, so where it'll be crispy on the inside, it'll be crispy on the outside, and I'll show you that when we do the video, because I think a lot of people will go, really? That's interesting. Texture's a difficult one. You know, I would do just solid chocolates. I would just do solid chocolates. If people like texture, do the bars. People that don't like soft fillings, you don't want a solid filling in a bonbon, otherwise all you've done is basically create a truffle, right? Or just do truffles for them. In fact, just do truffles for the family and then do the nice chocolates for everyone else. With our first food show coming up, how would you plan stock? One has 10,000 people a day. Oh, that's a challenge. I think that, you know, if that's 10,000 footfall, what's that break down to in hours? And what's the percentage of people you'd expect per hour to come and visit your stall? And how many orders do you think you would sell per hour? And I would track back from those numbers and give it a really educated guess. 10,000 is a big market, and they might not necessarily all find you. Make sure you got lots of popular ones. And honestly, this is where the salt caramel things comes in. This is where the popular flavors come in. I wouldn't do anything too weird and wacky. I would do, if you've got, honestly, for that, if you've got 10 flavors, I'd be looking at going with kind of 500 or 600 of each. And if that's just one single day, what of that is recoverable? It goes there and it's in boxes, and you take out what you need when you're setting up, so you don't have everything on show. And then everything else is recoverable because it's either freezable or it's going to be good shelf life, and it's winter where you are right now. So I would have thought storing chocolates down in New Zealand right this time of year is quite easy. And is it recoverable? And that's the stuff that then goes on to do online sales or other markets or other bits and pieces, right? So with that kind of number, you want to go there with enough stock. There's just nothing. There's no way you want to go down there with less than 400 or 500 of each one. If you've got 10 flavours, 12 flavours, 500-600 of each, I would have thought. You want to go down there with 10,000 footfall and sell out in the first kind of 4 hours and then sit there, because I would have thought you're not allowed to leave until the very, very end. It's not like you can pack up halfway through and then that be, you know, closed shop and everybody thinks there's a problem, right? So happy days. I was asked to make bespoke chocolates based on a clay pigeon puck. They want to know how many they'd get for £30. How would you reply? Evelyn, you've got to weigh it. You've got to weigh it up, put the costs on it, and multiply it that way. I don't know what the weight of that puck would be. I mean, it's a small disc. I don't know. I mean, if they're looking at firing that through firing that through the springs, I'm not sure it would. I'm not sure it'd withstand the plate coming across and firing that in the air, to be honest. Maybe it's if they fire that in the air, it's probably going to shatter before it reaches the range. And yeah, somebody's going to shout pull and go, where's it gone? For any of you who don't know, a clay pigeon puck, it looks like a little frisbee, right? They're kind of yay round. I don't know. You need to make one up and weigh one up. How many would you get for? I don't know. It depends on your cost. It's a hard one. It's hard for me to say what would you charge or how many would you get. I don't know. I would have thought you're looking at about 150 grams of chocolate for something that size, and what quality of chocolate, what price. If you're going to use Valrhona Equatorial Manjari, it's going to be expensive. If you're going to go with 823, 811, probably a little bit easier. Although having said that, they're probably about the same price now, aren't they? Hi James, do you have any thoughts on Instagram or Facebook sponsored ads? I've only ever placed one advert ever, and that was a Facebook ad. And at the same time, I posted a reel. So I paid for an ad, and then at the same time, I did the reel on Instagram. After a week, Facebook told me it put it in front of like 4,000 people. The reel did 84,000. I'm not convinced by it, to be honest. I keep seeing the same advert coming up over and over for a person that does classes, and it's just enough. I just keep hiding the advert because I'm just kind of sick of seeing it. I don't know if I'm necessarily convinced. I think you are better to have local hashtags and keep doing your reels and keep promoting local hashtags, and then go out there and find your audience. I think the problem with sponsored ads is they don't necessarily meet your target audience. They say that they do. Google Ads does the same thing, and they're geographical. So, you know, I can choose to advertise in Canada and America, but it doesn't say who to. So I'm not gonna, I mean, without being too pessimistic, I've not seen anybody have major success by having those ads. Because I think the people that already know about you are looking for chocolate, and I'm not convinced that those ads hit the market. I suppose if you've got an everyday domestic product that everybody would use, and as an example, like a spray type, you know, Dettol spray, every household might be purchasing, and it's probably a good reminder for when somebody's going shopping at a, you know, big branch store. I think the challenge we got with chocolate is it's very, very niche. So I've never really been convinced that it's worth the money, and I know that it's not cheap because it sits in the background and it just adds up, and you know, even I did at the end of the week. I got this bill, and then they told me how many they put that ad in front of, and then I looked at the free reel that I did, and it's like 84,000 versus 3,000. Like, so yeah. What were you doing with the cocoa butter that you were tempering? Tell us a little. You'll be able to see that tomorrow. That post goes live tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So there's some very interesting things being posted over the next 7 days. Most of them all at 2 o'clock. It's not about audience. It's about I've hashtagged all of them, Chocy Chat Crew as well, so you'll be able to see them there. It was about kind of giving you guys, and for the majority of you guys, you are the purchasers of my product, right? So it's about showing you how to use this stuff, or just provoking some thought about the things that you should be using, or why would you do this. I tell you what I did is that I've read so many times that's lime shine, but the reason it looks so very different, you'll have to see the reel tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I read on the forums. I don't engage on the forums too often because I just end up in arguments with somebody that knows more than me, right? Lots of those on the planet, aren't there? Just Facebook experts. What I mean is that I've seen people write down saying, like, if you want really shiny chocolate, spray a layer of cocoa butter first, and then with a colour. Polishing the moulds for hours and hours is not going to make your chocolates more shiny. It's not. It has nothing. It's got a little bit to do with it, but it hasn't got everything to do with it. You know, equally, spraying a layer of cocoa butter, you know, as that layer gets thicker, so does the chocolate that we shell with need to be warmer, because we've got to get that layer of cocoa butter to melt and then cool and then move across together when they shrink, which is the same word as retraction, right? And I think the post that I've got tomorrow, where I was spraying the plain cocoa butter, it's really answering that. Like, how many times have I read, spray plain cocoa butter if you want really shiny chocolates? No, don't. But there is a reason why I would do that, and the post that that goes tomorrow at 2 o'clock, that will explain why I would do that, because I've layered up what we're doing as we're going along, and you'll be able to see that when we get to the final, when you see that one tomorrow. So there's a good one, Sir Filet. Pretty fancy chocolate's a good answer there. Julie Ritchie, how are you? I haven't spoken to you for a long time. You're welcome, Sir Filet. What about the time to make the mould? I don't know, I don't make moulds. I don't know how long that would take you. I would have thought that I would just do a disc and sit another disc on top of it and then grate it down with a yeah, I don't know, challenge to do bespoke things like that. He saw the secret of the chocolate shine. It didn't work for me. How do I fix a split ganache? When things split, what very often, and I've seen this 1,000 times in kitchens, when a preparation splits. Now, ganache was always for the pastry industry. Chocolatiers have adapted it. People have gone a little bit further with it to increase the shelf life of it. But ganache was always a product used either as a filling or as a topping or as a pipeable element, right? When it splits, it's because there isn't enough water. It's not because, but what chefs do is they add a little bit more cream. So they add more fat to it and it gets worse and worse. So if a ganache is split, you can try adding a little bit of inverted sugar. You can try adding even just a teaspoon of boiling water to it. You don't need a lot, and then give it a blitz. Things that you get that split or separated look when there is not enough water. We break all those fat molecules into tiny, tiny, tiny little beads, and they are bound together with droplets of water. And then the sugars that are in there are what surround that, and that's what gives us the available water. So all the water's bound up, but the bits that are dotted around, that's the available water, and that's why you get short shelf life. If you've got a ganache that's split, I guarantee you absolutely every single time it's because there's not enough water in it. And this is why, we have a fillings class, and I do get asked often, like, can I swap this sugar for that sugar? Can I put dry dextrose instead of glucose? No, because when we add a dry product to it, it's likely we're going to extract some of the water. So then there's a chance that, like for a caramel example, if you swapped out the glucose for dextrose powder, dextrose, glucose kind of do the same thing, although dextrose wouldn't give you the elasticity. If we swap those out, dextrose will hold on to water, so it's very likely it will either split or it will be solid to pipe because we bound up too much of the water that's in there. I think that it comes with a challenge if you start swapping recipes around a little bit, right? They are formulated to do a specific thing, right? So fixing a split ganache, teaspoon of hot water every single time. Also, what will make them split prematurely is that if it's too cool. And I often find is, if anybody's ever had a go at doing the cold ganache, where we have the warm chocolate and we drip the cream in and whisk it through. If the cream's too cold, as in it's come out of kind of 4-degree storage, the chocolate cools down too quickly and we end up with other problems. What you need to do is put lots of cream in at the beginning, or whisk, or the majority of the cream, and then when that's all become a fluid, then we can get the extra cold cream in there. But again, cold ganache is not something I like doing, so I'm old-fashioned. I'm a little bit old-fashioned and quite a traditionalist. I don't really see much reason to do a cold one when I can make warm ones equally as good, right? So, and I don't worry about how quickly it cools down, because if I'm piping 100 moulds worth, we're gonna have to warm some of it up anyway because it's gonna be setting, right? Nadia's saying, in the beginning I used Facebook ads, and even though I needed specific requirements, it was put in front of many people, but none of them led to any purchase. This has been my experience. Yeah, exactly that. It gets put in front of people that aren't purchasing chocolate, and you can't control who it goes in front of. You can write down who's your target audience, but I think when you do these ads with Facebook and what have you, and it's like, do you want it for more likes? Do you want it for more follows, or do you want it to lead to your website? And for me personally, number of follows, I'm old enough to not be worried about how many that number is. It's not a big measure in my life. Number of likes is not the measure in my life. If I do a post and it gets to 10 of the right people, absolutely Bertie bonus, because I know that they're having a problem or has helped anybody that's in Chocy Chat. Number of follows, I watch mine. It can go up 200 a day and it can go down 300 a day, and you have no control over it, obviously depending on what you post. Having said that, I did post and I lost 6, right? And then I've gained another 1,300. So there you go. That was an analytic I looked at the other day. There was me thinking, I might have done something wrong there, but actually I was like, no, I'm on the side of humanity. I'm making mango caramel tonight. What are the pros and cons of using cream or not having cream in the recipe? Ron, I would definitely put cream in it. simply because you know all the fibre that's in the mango, that will sit to the bottom of the pan. It's also really high in sugar, mango, and it's very likely with that fibre and that sugar, if you don't keep whisking and you don't keep moving that caramel, you'll get a lovely little burnt noir brown carpet on the bottom of your pan, and you'll be like, oh, I would do it with cream. I'll bring it to the boiler. At least then you've got it more fluid. You can bring it up to a kind of 107 degrees, which we do with fruit caramels. We bring it up to 107 degrees, a little bit higher if you want to, and at least then you've got a bit more liquid movement going on, right? So I wouldn't do mango. It's just it's too thick. It'd be like, it's like banana puree, right? If you puree banana, it's really, really dense, really, really thick. And when you try and bring it to the boil, it just plops, right? And you just get burnt and pebble dashed with boiling liquid. What you want to do is thin that down a bit. It's the variety of mango that makes the difference, though, truly, right? Don't buy them great big green. They look like baby coconuts. They're absolutely shocking. Spend a couple of pennies more to get an absolutely incredible mango, and your chocolates will be better. Everything is ingredients led, right? So, Nick, the Chocolate Pig saying, yeah, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any value in paid ads. I just don't. It's not. I talk to a lot of business. I do a lot of business classes, do it in a lot of advanced classes. The paid ads always comes up. I've had many discussions. Just this year alone, I think we've done quite a few hundred classes of the advanced one, the business ones. And that question always comes up. And I've had many a conversation with people that's like, I tried doing the ads and it didn't really work. What did I do wrong? And my version of answer is always, you didn't actually do anything wrong. The ads don't really work. It's just a source of revenue for that big corporation who then doesn't go and pay tax on it. So it's a little bit of a tricky gimmick, right? I think it'd be better to just work out what your hashtags are. And your hashtag should be, think of a dartboard, right? So in the center, that's the little town village that I live in, right? And then so the village I live in, and the next one is the nearest towns, okay, dotted around it, and then it's the county, right? And then if you like in the UK, it's southeast of England, so bigger towns. If in the US, it's then the state. Hashtags work. Hashtags are what people will go onto Instagram and they will write hashtag chocolates for sale locally, and it will bring you to what you are. And if it's in your town, it's in your area, it will feed into the other things. I've never been convinced that the hashtags work. SEO, so search engine optimization, if you've got websites, that's really important. I think that's really important because you can get that list of what people are looking for. I know that if you googled let's pick another one. If you googled red cocoa butter, I think you'll find that the Rari Red comes up on that. If you googled gold cocoa butter, you might find that the So Sassy's, the Ice Cocoa comes up on that. But just because we do so much, well, I don't, but Mrs. So Sassy does so much work on the SEO, and it's a search engine optimization. As have I got the right words? Have I got the right description? Have I got the right thing on there so it's searchable? And I think hashtags about that. I think ads, if I'm honest, and my experience talking to lots of businesses, the ads have just put lots of money in the pocket of the provider, but I just don't think it hits the target audience that are your purchasers. And I said this, that you can have 250,000 followers, but if they're not buying chocolate, what's the point? If you had 10,000 followers and 10,000 buy, it's better than having 250,000 and nobody buys, right? So it's tough little area. I recently acquired Mahlab. It's a flavour I didn't expect. How to best use it? Mahlab, just fold it straight into a caramel, fold it straight into, for the Middle Eastern market that know it, for the Middle East market that knows it, they will get it straight away. It's very unique. It's like the flavour of cherry. I mean, it literally is cherry, but it's that flavour of cherry. It comes as a powder form. You just fold that straight into a ganache or fold that straight into a caramel. You can also just fold it straight into the chocolate and pipe, right? It works that way as well. Chocolates by Miss C. Hello, Philip Vieira, how are you? Quick hi from holiday in Wild West diving holiday through Colorado, Utah, and now Vegas. Happy days, Linda. Linda's living the dream. James, if I add a pinch of salt to a ganache recipe and I find it a bit too sweet, does it change the shelf life of the ganache? No, it won't change it at all. There is another post coming out about salt, which I think is on Monday. I'm doing a post about salt on Monday. Sweet, sour, bitter, sugar. No, adding salt to it won't change the shelf life just because the amount that you're putting in there. If something's too sweet, do not add salt. Right? Salt is not the answer to sweetness. The opposite of sweet is sour. The opposite of bitter is salt. If you add, and I've seen chefs do this over the years, when something is too sweet and they add salt to it, you end up with this really weird, funky flavour, and it doesn't get better because they're two very separate products, and the tongue's very sensitive to both of them. The tongue is very, very sensitive to all four. Sweet, sour, bitter, salt. Bitter is something that we learn to like as we get older. Children don't really like bitter things, right? But the first taste that we experience is salt. The first taste that we experience is sweet, and then it's salt, and then it's sour, which we normally put with the sweet. Okay, bitter is the last flavour that, if you put salt on top of sweet, that the mouth kind of goes, it's not right. Something not right there. If something's too sweet, you want to sour it. Okay, so that's lemon juice. Lemon juice will tone down sweetness. Lime juice will tone down sweetness. A tiny drop of vinegar, right, will tone down sweetness because that's sweet and sour, and that's balance, right? If something is bitter, and again, I think the post is coming out on Monday. Could be Monday, could be Tuesday, don't know. I just lined them all up because I've got a busy day. I've got a busy week next week, and it's like, here's all the reels for the week. They're done. They're just short clips, but it's read the information in them because there's some good stuff in there for you to save it, and then you can go back and have a look at it. If it's bitterness, so if you think about things that are bitter, like alcohol is bitter, and the reason they put salted nuts and things on bars is to lower the bitterness of alcohol to keep you drinking. That's the theory anyway. But like as chocolatiers, if you think about what is bitter, caramel's bitter, nuts are bitter, cocoa mass is bitter. When I see recipes for ganaches and it says a pinch of salt, I'm like, yes, because that's what we used to do years ago. And the sweet, sour, salt, bitter, that's something I learned in 1986. The opposite of sweet is sour. The opposite of salt or bitter is salt, right? And don't mix them. Don't put sour and bitter together because it's just too much. The tongue goes no. When we taste sour and bitter together, it normally tells us it's poisonous, right? If we put too much salt on top of sweet, we're kind of like searching. Everybody's eyes are darting. Everybody going, I'm confused. When we do sweet and sour, everybody's like, yep, love it. When we do bitter and salt together, we get a balance and we get flavour memory. A little lessening taste, right? It's all about taste tonight. But don't add salt to a ganache that's a little bit too sweet. Don't do it. You'd be better to put some lemon zest, lime juice, a little bit of acidity or sourness will tone down sweetness, right? Where are we going? DJ Master Cash. Hello, sir. Is there a basic percent of the ingredients in making a fruit caramel, sugar to puree to glucose? But there is, Ron. Maybe challenge for me to think about those. Yeah, Ron, you did Callie's classes. Hasn't he got the formulas in there for those? I would have thought they're in there. Generally speaking, I'll do 50-50 sugar to fruit puree, but the sugars might not be sucrose because it might be 50% of that 50% sugar, 25% might be glucose, 25% might be sucrose. Or if it's it's a raspberry or strawberry, I like using fructose because I think it lifts those flavours a bit more. So I might just do 50% fruit puree and then 50% fruit puree, glucose, fructose, The fructose and sucrose would be a 50-50. It's hard to describe here. And then on the other half of that recipe would either be cream or water or whatever else I want to balance out that fat. And then the other decision I'm going to make is at the end that if I don't want things to fully recrystallize, I might either use some inverted sugar, which is very good at that, or I might use some additional fat, so either chocolate or cocoa butter blended in at the end. I hope I didn't make that sound too complicated. My mind's racing. The balance comes from knowing what one thing does when the other one gets absorbed into it. But Ron, I know you did Callie's class, so surely there's some stuff in there about fruit caramels in terms of like those percentages. It changes fruit to fruit, right? Like if I was using passion fruit, I wouldn't be using if I was doing passion fruit, I wouldn't be using glucose. I'd be using inverted sugar because it's a little bit sweeter, because I want to tone down that sourness, right? Equally, if I was using mango, I wouldn't be wanting to use inverted sugar because it's too sweet. So I'd be using glucose because mangoes are really sweet, right? So, and the glucose will just tone that down a little bit. So, comes with its challenges. I hope I answered that, Ron. No, gave it a good go. There's so much to consider with that. Hi James, sorbitol is described as a fruit alcohol. It confuses me. Can I still use it for people who don't drink alcohol? It's a polyol sugar. It's made by, it's a byproduct of alcohol production, but it is not alcohol. Should you use it, like in terms of it being halal, I don't use sorbitol if I know it's going to a client where they require it to be halal or alcohol free. No, I don't use it. It started off as alcohol and became something else. Like for halal, we wouldn't serve water in a wine bottle, right? It's just not appropriate. So sorbitol is kind of a no. You don't need lots. You don't always need sorbitol. There's only a few occasions where you need sorbitol, right? So, Susie Flutes. Oh, happy anniversary, happy 30th anniversary to Linda and Mr. Zardos. For everybody that asks me, I get so many questions. I'll do a post again. Linda at Art in Chocolate. Her husband makes these. He makes I've got to ask them, nearly everybody that's come, I haven't got many left because everybody that comes on a hands-on class takes a handful of away with them. I think, Linda, when you're back to the UK, you should give me a shout and I'll talk to Mark about just getting a stock up here, and I think I'm going to have to sell them. I think I'm going to have to sell them on your behalf because I get absolutely inundated with where can I get the grips from, right? But happy anniversary anyway, Linda and Mark. Questions. Hudson's Chocolates, how are you? There's lots of people joined it. If you're new, ask questions, go for it. I was just thinking about adding some fruit powder to white chocolate and shelling with that for an added punch and colour with our coloured cocoa butter. Would that work? Any difference in temperature? No, that works. If you can get the really fine fruit powders, I wouldn't blend them in too heavily. What I would do is get the chocolate tempered and I would fold that through, because it's kind of like an inclusion, and then I'd shell as normal. It's not going to make a major difference. Like white chocolate, you can put a little bit of cinnamon into white chocolate and shell with that, or you can scrape vanilla seeds into white chocolate and shell with that. I would always elect to do white chocolate so it's a little bit visible. The other alternative is to get the, I think Valrhona, or I think Luca, and I think there's a couple other brands now do the flavoured cocoa butters, which are essentially a dehydrated powder that's then blended into cocoa butter, but you can't spray with it because it doesn't work, because I tried. Doesn't work. There's too much interference with it, so you don't get it doesn't retract away from the shell very well. But what you can do is put it into a white chocolate and give it another punch. We call that flavour release. So we've got a shell with flavour, and then we've got the filling with flavour as well. So it's a really nice way of getting massive flavours into chocolates, right? So but no, treat it as normal. Just don't blend it, Kelly. Don't blend it heavily into the chocolate. Like you don't want to tip a load in, and it just needs to be the lightest amount. You might find that there's a really nice passion fruit powder that I put into white chocolate, and it's I don't like using this phrase, but I call it gym bunnies. How do you know if somebody goes to the gym? And it's like they'll tell you. They will absolutely tell you every 2 minutes. When I was at the gym, but they have all the fruit smoothies and protein drinks and all that stuff now. So there is an array of fruit powders available on the market, which are never really been available before in lots of different flavors. Those can be put into cream, those can be put into ganache, and those can be poured straight into white chocolate, blended through gently when it's tempered, and then just shell as normal, right? Just gives a really lovely flavor release. And I mean that phrase gym bunnies in a nice way. I just don't know how to describe fitness people, right? Been playing with a lot of herbs, mostly rosemary and thyme. Happy days. So what you can do with thyme, I've talked about this before on here, I know I have. So thyme is one of those lovely flavours, because it's bitter, it will go with sugar, okay? And it's an oil, it's what we do, rosemary, sage, they're hard herbs, right? So they are oil based, and when you cook them, they go black or they go brown. If you did a stock syrup, so what you would do is 1 part, I'm trying to think of a big enough container. If I did, let's get a smaller container and I'll describe this, because this is worth knowing. Where are we? Right. If I did 3 of those of sugar level and put it into a pan, and 1 of those of water, right, cold, put it into a pan, and then a big bunch of rosemary and put it in there, put the lid on, put it on low heat, let the sugar melt, and then just bring it to the boil, turn the heat off, leave it to go cold. If you take the thyme out of it, okay, and then put it through a sieve and put it in a squeezy bottle or a jar and put it in the fridge. This is a thing that I did. I did some work with, I used to do a lot of work with Tate and Lyle on the sugars, and we used to do these. You used to do rosemary syrups, thyme syrups, and we would use those as a foil to bring other flavours together. But that thyme syrup, you've made basically a thyme flavoured sugar solution, which you can start putting into ganaches to give a background flavour. Rosemary is very nice with hazelnut, thyme is very nice with, thyme and apricot's really nice, thyme and apple is really, really nice, thyme and cherry, rosemary and cherry, but it's very hard to get those flavours into it without it just being absolutely overpowering. If you do 3 tubs of sugar, 1 tub of water, put your hard herbs in there, so you don't want to use chives or soft herbs because they'll just go brown. 3 sugar, 1 water, put it into a tub, gently bring it to boil, you end up with a very thick sugar solution, same thickness as honey. Put it in a squeeze bottle, keep it in the fridge. That thyme syrup, like if you roast a chicken, it comes out the oven, little squeeze of that over the top. When people are eating it, they're like, what's that flavour? It goes over parsnips and roast potatoes. It goes on, like, it's just a little sweet drizzle. You don't need a lot of it, but because it's got the thyme or the rosemary in it, it gives you an absolutely incredible flavour hit. And you remember I said that the tongue's sensitive to sweet before it is anything else. Well, the sweet and the hard herbs are bitter. So when the sweetness is gone, you're left with this flavour of the oil from those 2 times, and they're really nice. But you can put that syrup straight into a ganache and blend it through. And if you think, and caramels, and if you think about it, you know, if you honestly have a think about what's the difference between a caramel and a ganache in terms of a recipe, right? Both have got cream in it, both have got sugars in it. It's just a slightly different cooking technique, right? Whereas, you know, when we do a normal ganache, we've got sugar in the chocolate, but if we extracted that out and we just did cocoa mass, they're kind of the same thing. It's just a caramel will give you a longer shelf life because of the technique of high temperature, right? They're the kind of things that I give a squeeze of thyme syrup or rosemary syrup, because it's light enough to give you a background. If you've got a bunch of thyme and put it into cream, and then infused it and then tried to make a caramel from that, it would just be too bitter. So have a think about that one, Jason. Giving loads of secrets away this week, aren't I? I find myself adding salt to all my ganaches and spreads. I feel like it brings out the sweetness and enhances the overall. It doesn't enhance the sweetness. What it does is tone down the bitterness and let the sweetness come up naturally, right? Salt is a good thing. I know the word. It depends on the salt as well. Where's that sugar crystal? I had the biggest sugar crystal this week. It was, I think somebody ate it. Wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't bring out the sweetness. What it does is tone down. Salt will tone down bitterness. All right. Salt is a crucial thing. I did a radio interview recently, and they're like, what are the mandatory things that you would have in your kitchen? And this is like, as a chef, as a hot kitchen. Couldn't do anything without lemons. Couldn't do anything without salt. Right. Couldn't do anything without olive oil. And I'd want to have eggs. Right. And flour. With all of those, I can create so many different flavour, textures, different things, right? But salt and lemon were my two top ones. A tub of Maldon salt, for me, is just absolute gold. And lemons, salt will tone down bitterness, and the lemon will tone down sweetness, right? So I can start playing with things really, really cleverly and extract big flavours out of stuff. But there'd be the mandatory things. It's the type of salt, right? Your normal nasty table salt is just not. You put that in a caramel, you will know about it. So will your customers, right? How can I give chocolate a stronger shine and make it look? The shine comes from it's more than I could describe tonight, but the shine comes from the right process of lining up those beta crystals so that the chocolate shrinks. And the chocolate shrinking all at the same speed will pull away from that mold, and if the mold is smooth, the shine will be there, right? So it's the shine is not polishing the mold. You can polish the molds all you want, they're not going to be any shinier if you don't get the rest of that process right. And the process is tempering properly, so we got the right beta crystals, not too many but enough. It's pouring the chocolate and allowing the time, because we never talk about time, it's allowing the time for it to cool down, to then drop the temperature so it retracts or shrinks so that it mirrors the surface it was touching. Shine is not one thing. Shine is many things, all done in the right order, and you'll get very, very shiny chocolate. The time from shelling, so the time that you wait between shelling and it going dull before you drop that temperature, I think is absolutely crucial, right? So, and good molds as well, right? Because if you've got a mold, you can polish the molds, you can clean the molds. We're dealing with food. You work with clean molds. I'm horrified when I see. I'm horrified when I see molds and it's just got layers and layers of old chocolate on it. It's like, no, thank you. We deal with food. It's either squeaky clean or go and do a different job. I can't abide by that. And I've been to places where it's like, they don't clean the molds and it's just like, just nasty. Imagine if we applied that same process to, well, it's only chocolate, so I'm not going to clean the bowl, and it's only a stirrer, so I'm not going to stir. Can you imagine if we did that to, like, it's only a silicone mat, it's only got chocolate on it, I'm not going to clean it. Molds need cleaning. It's absolutely pitiful when I see matted chocolate molds, and it's like, oh, we'll just put them away till next Easter. No, thank you. Won't be buying there. Lemon verbena works really well. Lemon balm, we got loads of lemon balm in our garden. We're drying it all out and we're going to make some syrups from that. But I promised the girls I'll make some ice cream for them. So we're scrolling through. I'm going slow tonight, aren't I? I'm sorry. Yeah, Jason, give that a go. Anybody, give that a go. We used to do it with scallops. We used to do it with seafood. We used to fry scallops. And we had like cauliflower and raisins and different things with it. Just do a little drizzle of thyme syrup over the end of it, and it's like, it just absolutely finishes it. I highly recommend it on if you roast chicken and you get the skin really, really crispy, or duck. Thyme syrup, 3 parts sugar, 1 part water, thyme, bring it to the boil, turn it off, leave the lid on, let it go cold, put it in a squeezy bottle. I drizzle that over roast chicken, thank me later, right? Absolutely amazing. Aniseed and apricot, definitely not. Thyme, if you get thyme and apricot together, if you get the flavour of enough thyme with apricot, the customers think they're tasting lamb, right? I shared something recently, and it was the Academy Hall of Fame, and I did a blind tasting. Blindfolded tasting, and I got 98 out of 100. And they had some strange things on there, but one of the things was that they'd given us apricot and thyme together, and it's like, oh, I already know this one because I've had this lesson. I worked in kitchens where every day we were blindfolded and we had to taste stuff, and you eventually get to either know the texture of it or the flavour of it, or the flavour notes that are coming off it. Apricot and thyme work really, really well together, and if you get it slightly more thyme flavoured, the customers kind of go, is that lamb? And it's not. It's two completely plant-based products, right? And this is why I say, I mean, this is a class in flavour tonight, isn't it? You can play with flavours and you can do flavour-reese. This is why I did this thing this morning. Stop making this cookie layer as just something to fill your bonbons. Start having to think about the flavour that's in there. The cheese, here's one, a perfect example. The cheesecake bonbons, right? I like them. I don't like triple layers because I find it a little bit fiddly and takes ages. But we do a gel and then we do a yogurt ganache. All right. If you don't want to do a yogurt ganache, just put a little bit of citric acid in with the white chocolate ganache, and it'll taste like cream cheese because that's what cream with an acid added to it, right? The crispy layer. If you watch, and I've done this, right? If you watch in restaurants, if you watch, particularly ladies, right? Particularly women do this, okay? When they get a bit of cheesecake, they eat the base first, right? They might scoop off some of the top layer, but they will, and prove me wrong, right? They will eat the crispy base off because that's the salt, right? Then they'll go into the cream cheese bit with the fruit, okay? And I've watched this, and we had cameras on each table, and we used to watch this we had cameras on each table so we knew when to send the next, because we were doing like 14 course menus, right? So, or 12 course menus. So we needed to know, like, are they ready? Are they talking? Has half the table gone out to smoke? Well, anyway. And we don't want to send the food out if they're not sat there. But we used to watch them eating the cheesecake, and it's like we'd watch the women specifically watch how they eat cheesecake. Now, once you realise that, and then you ask them questions, if you want to duplicate a cheesecake, we need a sweet layer. We need that cream cheese layer, which can be either sour or bitter. The crispy layer needs to have salt in it, because if it doesn't have salt in it, you're not going to nail the flavour of cheesecake, right? Because the cheesecake base is done with digestives, and digestives aren't sweet. So you can blend up any biscuit you want as a base layer, but you're going to need to put salt in it, because if you don't, it won't duplicate cheesecake. Prove me wrong, right? Ladies, lots of ladies here on here, they're all looking at each other going, oh my god, I do that. I know a bit about food. I know about food. No, I know a bit about eating. I'm still learning about food. We're 35 years in, and it's just, we got an ice cream machine, and I'm really loving it, because I'm making something for the girls, and I can dictate the flavour of it without all the nasty crap and rubbish in it, right? Just all sorts of weird bits and pieces, because the commercial ice cream, they just pump a load of air into it, so that you're buying, you've got a litre, and it's not sold by weight, it's sold by volume, right? So you buy a litre volume of ice cream, but if you let it melt, there'll be this little baby layer in the bottom. It's like, I've been conned. I've been a chef a long time. I know about food, but I'm still learning. But I know about flavour, I know about eating, right? Coca, I don't understand dirty mould. Dirty mould, absolutely. Chef, what to do if one of your shells are too thin? I would try and avoid doing too thinner shells, because they don't retract, they don't shrink very well. Having said that, you don't want really, really thick shells. If the shells, if you've shelled and it's a little bit too thin, before you go any further, before it starts to retract, I would shell again very quickly. Especially if you've got like a 5-drop chocolate. And occasionally people do get, like, they accidentally purchase a 5-drop chocolate. It's fine. You might need to shell twice. If not, I would just go through and I wouldn't wait for that shell to retract. I'd go ahead and I would fill them, and I would cap them, and then I'd put that, so the inside is now protected, and I put the whole thing in the fridge. Because if the chocolate's tempered, eventually it will retract, but those additional layers in there just might help it shrink a little bit more, right? So that's one way around it. Try not to shell too thin. causes you other problems as well. If you shell too thin, you might not melt that layer of cocoa butter if you're colouring. Also, if you shell too thin, they're very fragile. They're very fragile, so you're not going to be able to take them out to have a look at them. There's also a danger that anything that goes in there too warm, the warmth of the filling will go through that, will permeate through that chocolate layer, and then they'll sink back into the shell, right? And just, have I tried Caliber orange chocolate? I have. Wasn't memorable. Have I tried making what? I have no idea what that is, Mariba. I love avocado ice cream. Avocado, well, we call it a sorbet. Yes, it works, but if you get the wrong avocado, it's like eating battery acid, right? It's absolutely horrendous. So you want Hass avocados, the black ones that are really gnarly. They make really good sorbet. If you get the green ones with the thin skin that's got the really big white, if you make avocado ice cream with that, you'll have the shock of your life, because when you go to eat it, you're like, oh my God, this is like battery acid. It's shocking. James, have you a tiramisu filling recipe, please? I'm missing it now. I'm back from Venice. Susie, yes, I do. Yeah, I do. We have a really good tiramisu one. But Susie, why don't you just make tiramisu? Don't make a bonbon, just make tiramisu. It's like, I think to get that into 10 grams, whilst it's very, very nice, just make tiramisu. Just make tiramisu. If I made a big bowl of tiramisu now, Mrs. So Sassy would run off down to the end of the garden and keep it for herself, because she really, really loves that. So occasionally I'll put that together, right? But really, really, really strong coffee. Obviously no alcohol in it at all. Susie, just if you're missing tiramisu, make tiramisu. I don't think a chocolate will nail it for you, right? What is it? Fijoa. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm still learning. There's lots of ingredients. I haven't tried. Basic Chocolates, I think he's in Sydney. I think he's around Sydney area. I think so. He sent me a video of the finger limes, right? Well, you can get finger limes here if you order them 5 years in advance. And when you do get them here, they're dehydrated and completely ruined. And Basic sent me a video and he's like, yeah, just go out and pick them off a tree. I'm like, oh, okay, mate. Awesome. But where I worked in Thailand, just go out the back of the kitchen and there was lemongrass growing. So you just grab a fresh bunch every time you needed it. And there's a tree that had kaffir limes on it. We just go out and pick what we wanted as and when we want. So different countries have different things, right? I might have to try those. I don't know if you can ship fruit though to the UK. Ethan, any advice on first time melange use? Gonna break it out tonight for the first time. Pretty excited. Yeah, lots of advice. Jason, I do my Melanger class, because for anybody that's done my Melanger class, you will know what I'm talking about. It's not using the Melanger, it's what the Melanger can be used for, right? And it's Jason, book that class with me. I need to have a chat with you anyway. Book that class with me on the Melanger one, because you know what? There's some tricks to using it. Using the Melanger is really straightforward. Knowing what to use it for, that's the thing. And when I start talking about the difference between white almond and toasted almond and the different things that you can do with it, for anybody that's done the Melanger class with me, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you think tonight was a lesson in flavour, the Melanger class is an absolute lesson in flavour. We'll show you how to use it, we'll show you how it works, we'll show you what not to do, we'll show you what goes wrong, what can go wrong, and how to stop things going wrong, and some safety points and some features and all those bits of it. And then I would say of that hour class, a good 40 minutes of it is the description and discussion around what you can get it to do and how you can get it to flavour release so many things. A lot of people seem to think I'm anti-ganache. I'm not, but I can make the same flavours in caramel, good shelf life, and I can duplicate those flavours with gandusas or pralines or kind of non-but nut-based gandusas as well, right? So I can do a whole plethora of things and not go near ganache and still have a good shelf life and still not worry about all those other things that get flavour release and all that kind of stuff. So I've not heard of that. Obviously, finger limes are great, nice to use for decoration on meals too. It's I had finger limes in Thailand. We used to eat them every day. And I came back to the UK and it's like there's none. You can't even get them. I guess if I went to Covent Garden Market, I could order them and they'll have some of there. And they're probably like £3 each, right? So, N2 Sweet Labs. Any advice for champagne filling? I don't drink alcohol, and I've not done champagne in fillings. When I think back to my days in the kitchen, it's very, very sour. So the guys used to reduce it down and literally get a syrup. But then we discovered that we could do exactly the same thing by just using a cheaper wine, right? So I think that, or the same flavour notes with a cheaper wine. I think the challenge is, it's the bubbles in champagne, not the flavour of champagne. So I think you need to just, be careful with that description. There's nothing stopping you using a little bit of champagne and then using something else. I think it's probably a very expensive ingredient that you then have to reduce down, that you could duplicate with another flavour or another ingredient, right? So I think the class is back. I've caught up. We're so busy. Dolce Mara, is the Melanja class out? I'm gonna have to, bear with me. I'm gonna have to go. I had to curb some of the classes because do you know what? I put them on and then it just sold, and that was like I had a whole 2 weeks just tied up in one hit. And I've got hands-on classes and I've got all this stuff as well, and I just don't want to. Sometimes we take them offline just to give me a little bit of a breather. It's Eid on Sunday, so I'm having 3 days off, but I've got hands-on classes for 2 of them. So Father's Day Sunday, and it's Eid on Sunday. So happy Father's Day, and I hope that you have a lovely, relaxing day and you get fed lots of chocolate. That's if you do celebrate Father's Day. And for all my brothers and sisters out there, Eid Mubarak it's Eid Adha. So it's going to be 3 days of eating and family stuff, right? Nothing wrong with that. I would say sunbathing, but it looks like it's summer here, so our weather looks like flip-flops, shorts, sun cream lotion, scarf, coat, gloves, heating on, flip-flops, heating on, sunburn cream, heating back on. That's umbrella. That's our summer, right? I need to just give me a minute to go and check to see whether that's back on, right? Yeah, I need to let me go. Hashim, walaikum salam, my friend. I think that save a slot for me. I will go and oh my gosh, we've gone over time. I've been chatting so much. Not going over time. We finish when we finish. Yeah, let me finish. Let me post this and let me just go and check whether they're online. Because if they're not, Mrs. So Sassy's going. I'm fully booked up. She deals with the diary, not me. So all I've done is just like completely dissolved all our family time. I'm going to go and eat my mango. I've got posts coming out this week. I'm going to hold that one up because it's going to be a great week. There's some more designs coming out. There's some more posts coming up for the next few days. What else? We got butters. I'm low in stock. I'm desperately trying to keep topped up at the minute. It's very clear that people are still making chocolates everywhere to me. So please continue with that. Keep going. Keep looking at hashtags. Keep posting. Keep thinking about Christmas. Keep thinking about your plans. Keep planning. Think about flavours. Have a look at these posts that are coming up for the next few days. I haven't done them for likes and follows. I've done them to share information with you guys in Chocy Chat so that you can become better chocolatiers. Because the whole aim of Chocy Chat was that we all grow together. We all get better as we go along. That was the whole idea. That's why I sit here on a Friday night and answer questions, and I get to see you, all of my friends. I get to see all the people in Chocy Chat. I wish I could invite you all on. I think we'll start doing some of that a little bit more. I'll see you next week, where it may well be winter. Have a great Father's Day if you're enjoying it. Eid Mubarak if you are celebrating. Be nice to everybody. The world is still flexing its muscles, and it's scary for a lot of people out there. So just please be nice to the people next to you. You never know what people are going through. All right. I'm going to go and eat some mango, and I will post this. But catch you next week, Chocy Chat.